contemporary social and cultural issues which affect an evolving and emerging Indian American community committed to preserving the vast customs of a vibrant cultural heritage.
Welcome to Darshan America, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh Bhutani.
And I'm Astha Verma.
Budget is the only topic Washington has been involved in this week. I don't know where it's going to fall, when the deal will get struck, but some sort of a deal will get struck when they're so far apart, which has happened over the last couple of weeks. That means some catalyst is going to come in and put this deal together.
Yes, it is the only news in town. I mean, all the headlines are littered with this. And you're right, there is a catalyst. And the catalyst is this looming deadline, right? If we don't make this payment in August, then we have essentially defaulted. Everything from that point forward just looks bad, right?
Yep.
But I think the stakes are high, not just for the president. I think the stakes are high for Speaker Boehner. And there has been several articles in the paper that have been drawing this out. For one, Dana Milbank, had a great article about the tough role that John Boehner has to play as Speaker of the House. He's got to appease all sides, and it's quite clear that the Republican Party is now split, and it's split pretty dividedly between the Tea Partiers, or what I would say is sort of the extreme contingent of the party that is just deadlocked on this idea of not making compromises. They don't want to compromise, and they're basically putting their foot down, and the leader of that faction is Eric Cantor.
That's right.
Right? So now you have this division occurring between Eric Cantor and John Boehner, both of whom represent the Republican point of view. One has a very strong foot, the other one's trying to keep it together, and then you have President Obama. It's a very interesting split right now.
The millionaire stacks that President Obama keeps talking about, Democrats keep talking about, some of it has already been passed. For instance, folks, did you know that starting 2013, those who make more than $200,000 are going to be paying 0.9% more for Medicare, not only to their earned income, but all of their capital gains and everything else. So the taxes are going up. Corn subsidies gone. Oil subsidies are on the table, and defense is on the table. You need to cut the spendings. Raising taxes, we got plenty more years to go.
Wait a minute. First of all, President Obama made it very clear, even when he was elected, that he intended to tax those 4 million Americans that were in the upper echelon of earnings, those that make more than $200,000. That's what he stuck to. And secondly, what we're calling raising taxes, what he's really doing is he's closing the loopholes on these industries that have enjoyed these lavish luxuries in terms of subsidies and incentives. He's closing those loopholes. So when we hear about things like the oil companies made record profits this year and we're paying the price at the pump, well, that resonates with Americans, and they want to know, why is the oil industry still getting subsidized when they're making these record profits?
But that's on the table.
It's on the table. They
are going to cut their subsidies. There is no reason for it.
I agree. I think that's where the word compromise has to come into the picture, because when you take that away, you have to also then look at where else can you cut your current expenses and your current expenditures. So the problem right now is we're deadlocked, and no one wants to come to the table with those compromises because they're afraid of the political fallout.
It is a cat and mouse game. There are very, very big egos involved. You and I, we will not understand it till the deal is done.
Interestingly, I heard commentary on local radio, and it hit close to home for me, which I think it would for many Americans, and that is, this is a time for bold action.
Yes.
Right? We are not in a circumstance anymore where we can take small increments or small steps to see big change. And yet we all recognize the need for big change. And I think to some degree Americans are ready to make the sacrifice to achieve big change. But when it gets mired down in these political headaches, political challenges, you lose the big picture. And in this case, I would fault the president for not stepping up and being bolder and saying, look, this is the way it's got to be. I'm the president, and basically strong-arm his way into this a bit more. He's kind of...
He was late to the party. You remember, he submitted a budget that had nothing of that sort, Well, he was very late to the party. It was Paul Ryan, the Republican, who brought everybody around. It's fun for the media. You know what media does? They're putting two circuses. Yeah. One day this circus, one day that circus. They're not really pushing through their editorials, make a decision, make this one. That's what I'm sorry to see, that the editorials are now making it. They're just reporting on a spectacle.
You know, I agree with you on that point. There's enough intelligence in media to be able to see through some of this murkiness and the fighting that's going on to say, look, these are the basic fundamentals of the things we need to go after. And instead of driving the politics towards that means and serving as almost a watchdog, if you will, that's what the media ought to be. You're right. They're just glorifying and sensationalizing it.
To resolve problems, to make solutions, the newspapers need to push through the editorial content, and I hope they do it. But I have a feeling this week we'll have to deal.
Well, staying on politics for a minute, have you read all the buzz about Nikki Haley? You know, she is the governor of South Carolina. Indian Americans are proud of her because she's the first woman to hold that office, first woman of Indian origin to hold that office. She's also the youngest, currently the youngest governor in all of America. So she's certainly getting noticed. And also because of her very strong conservative roots, she's managing to tap into that conservative Republican base, which in South Carolina is a pretty big deal for her to have accomplished.
She's got a national exposure because of her stand on the Boeing factory that has opened in her state, and the unions are fighting to have that factory closed, move the jobs to the state of Washington. So she's got some national coverage on that.
Well, you're right. All of this buzz about her has really put her into the front-runner status in the Republican Party as a potential vice presidential candidate for the 2012 election. Of course, she's not saying that she's interested. She wants to serve her state. She's very adamant about that. But the fact is her name is being spun up in those circles. So can you imagine what 2012 holds in store for us? I mean, we might see names like Nikki Haley. We've already seen Michelle Bachmann, Sarah Palin. This could be the election of the woman, finally.
Yes. And New Yorker magazine did a very good article about it. This is, if Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann decide to run, who will notice the men?
Well, you mean an all-female ticket?
That's right.
That would be something.
And you know, Mitt Romney is right now leading. He's the leading candidate for the Republican nomination. Michelle Bachmann is right behind him. And I wish the two will get together because they'll make an excellent pair to run for the election for the president and vice president.
Well, I mean, he has no personality. She has nothing but personality. So maybe it might be a good balance. I don't know if the country's ready for an all-female ticket. You know, it takes a while for mindsets to change. Just look at how long it took mindsets to change enough to adopt or embrace the idea of a black